One of the biggest games to come out this year will be hitting store shelves this Tuesday. Nioh is the story of a white man heading to Japan and becoming a samurai. No, it's not.
It's not that Tom Cruise joke.
It's not Tom Cruise, no. It is an incredible game that actually is based off of a lost script from Kurosawa, the great Japanese director. And it follows a real character. He's a real guy. His name was William Adams. He was an English sailor that became one of the first Europeans to be a Western samurai in the Sengoku Tokugawa period of Japan, the early to late 1600s. It's a time period that, if you know games, has been explored ad nauseum. Even like the Musu games have explored it with Samurai Warriors. Great genre game. But this is about Nioh. It's a PlayStation exclusive from Team Ninja, which is part of Koei, which does the Dynasty Warriors games. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Nioh, just to kind of set the stage. It's a lone swordsman taking on weird mystical baddies in a strange mythical Japan. Every time you die in this game with your many different weapons, all of the spirits that you gain, the XP that you are carrying, are left on the ground. When you die, the area is repopulated with most of the standard enemies, and you have one chance to get those lost souls, or else you lose them. At which point, when you do level up, you can cash in those souls, which will replenish the level. You level up through the basic, strength, defense, dexterity, and some magical prefaces that, with each level, carry towards the different weapons that you can use. There is no jump button. The bosses are these massive demons with health bars that look like fern logs that fall on their side, almost impossible to whittle through. Stamina is regrown every time you move or swing your sword or whatever it is that you're doing. You have a stamina bar. You can fight the ghosts of other players that you activate called revenants. There's orchestral music against these esoteric combat battles. This is a Dark Souls, Demon Souls from software game. But it's not. It's created by a completely different team, Team Ninja. This is so much a Souls game that the architecture is nearly the same. The models look nearly the same. Do you remember in Dark Souls, Thomas Hyde, when you are traveling through the world and you would get items from kind of stooped over, long dead characters that are...
like hunched up on a wall.
Yeah, hunched up. It's exactly the same. It's a glowing item that you get. Do you remember in Dark Souls when you pause your game, because you can't really pause just like in this game, there is kind of a sub-menu that's really thin at the top.
Yeah, or the bottom, depending which game.
Top of the bottom, depending on the game. And within that sub-menu, you can access gestures or equipment or things like that.
I remember.
It looks architecturally, with the UI looks
the same.
Exactly the same. The core mechanics are exactly the same. Now, the Souls games are some of the best games ever made. They have been built on a really strong, powerful legacy of incredibly difficult gameplay, interactive storytelling that's obfuscated with mystery, and the idea that people will work hard for their games. In Nioh, there are some differences. You have the advancement of 3 fighting stances. Very simple to switch them. It's R1 and then the triangle, square, or X button. High, medium, low stances. Money is secondary to spirits. So it's kind of a different form of currency that allows not as much punishment when you do eventually die, which you will a lot. And then they added kind of a Diablo-style item system where you can break down, if you have 5 or 6 of similar sorts of swords, you can break them down and build them up into one weapon. Guess what? If you have different rarity of items, there's different colors for them. This is so much a Souls game, a Diablo game, in some ways an Onimusha game, that it made me worried that this is no longer the one artistic vision of a group of people trying to tell a story or an experience, but a manufactured by the numbers reflection of what has done well. I looked through the archives with an interview, Eurogamer, late last year with the game director, and apologies if I'm butchering the name, Funimoki Yasuda. He was asked the question, has Dark Souls changed the game's direction? This game doesn't look like a typical Team Ninja game. Yasuda said, yes, it did have a big impact on the direction of the project. We have very high opinion of the Souls series, and it's captivated a very wide audience. Fundamentally, the game is difficult, very challenging, and very well done. This part is in common with past Team Ninja titles, so yes, we did take inspiration. If you want to understand the manufacture, the development of this game, you have to look at the history. Team Ninja merged with Koei, which of course did the Musou and Dynasty Warriors game. But they were always really, really famous for their Ninja Gaiden and other games like that, correct?
Yes.
Games that you loved, games that were very, very difficult.
Very difficult.
They adapted the idea of infusing souls as you destroyed things. They adapted the idea of kind of more sword-based combat that seemed to be very visceral. They're famous for difficult sword-based, soul-based combat. So some would say that maybe Dark Souls took inspiration, in quotations, from Ninja Gaiden.
Maybe not the same way that this game takes inspiration from Dark Souls, though.
Nioh is an incredible gameplay experience. For me, it adds more gamey elements like level select, like the fighting stances, like just a less punishing way to tell an interesting story, that it's more fun. It's a better experience. But ultimately, it is so similar. It borrows so much that I think it passes that objective line. Not the subjective, personal, artistic line that people have between something that might be paying homage or influenced by. This is so close to plagiarism that it begs the question, why are video games allowed to do this, but other forms of media destroyed, eviscerated for borrowing so heavily? I think in the next few years, we need to think more strongly and be more decisive with this media we love so that it is respected, so we have the highest standard. Until then, get this game because it will take up hundreds of hours of time, and then once you love that, upgrade and play some Dark Souls games. We have to take a quick break.